Corporate greed is alive and well in the United States. Eddie picked out the music today. I'm not a big fan of it. I have to tell you. He picked out the music. I'm like, I do not like it. So if you don't like it, just go ahead and complain to Eddie after the show ends. So we're going to be talking about some fraud things that have been going on in the real estate game. It's so bizarre to me because in the last 3 months, I'm seeing more and more real estate scams. Some of them you probably already heard of. And one of them I am a complete victim of myself because, and I'm going to get into it, but we have an article from Insider talking about some of the real estate scams, but I want to share with you something that's happened to me. And if you go on Google and if you were just to search my name in YouTube and just put in Kristina Smallhorn, and the first thing that always pops up is a series of ads, to different places. Well, this one ad, Eddie, you can pull that screenshot up. Yeah, that one ad has my name on it, right? It has my name, the market I represent. And if you click on it, it takes you to homes.com. I have no affiliation with homes.com. I have nothing there. Matter of fact, when it took you there, it took it to an old profile of mine that I haven't, honestly, I've never done business with them. So I'm confused on how they got my profile. Come to find out, it was just automatically fed in from other websites that they just put on there. They just put real estate agents' profiles on there. Not only that, the information that they had in there was incorrect. The point of the matter is that they were using my name for you to click on it so it would drive traffic to their website. And here's the thing. Whenever you click on any kind of ad, as well as I do, like if you go on Amazon or anything like that, and you look at a sweater, that sweater haunts you on social media sites everywhere. Every time you go to open the newspaper, on the right-hand side, there's that sweater. It's the same thing that they're doing with these retargeting ads. They use our names, so you'll click on it. And then they use their algorithms to go ahead and send this out to as many people as possible, constantly haunting you with all their ads for homes.com. They're not the only one. So several different companies have been doing this, trying to get people to click on their specific ads so it will drive traffic to their big website. And it's just little me. How am I going to fight homes.com and land.com and inman.com using my name for their website so they can start sending out retargeting ads? It's literally I don't even know how to start with it. Well, the first thing I did was, of course, contacted homes.com. And this lady, I got a hold of this lady and she sends me this email because I, basically told her everything. And I sent her screenshots of the ads. And she says, thank you for your concerns. The ad came up on your YouTube channel as a result of you having a channel that's centered around real estate. This ad is simply tailored to you via that YouTube algorithm. Please understand it's not something that homes.com has any control over. You likely have have to reach out to YouTube directly over your concerns surrounding the ad with your name on it, as it is something that is displayed on their platform. So she's basically throwing YouTube under the bus, saying, well, that wasn't us. That was YouTube putting your name on the ad. Now, let's be realistic. We all know that they created the ad. The algorithm just knows that it's a real estate channel. They're just putting the ad because they were paid to put the ads in front of them. They don't know what they're doing with these specific ads. So she tried to throw them under the bus. So I went ahead and reported the ad to Google themselves, reported the ad as fraudulent by using my identity to get people to click on it. Come to find out, I'm not the only real estate agent they're doing this to. Every time I go and started searching up other real estate agents that had similar size channels, same thing, those ads were coming up. And so then I started reaching out to them. Most people didn't even know anything about it. So the thing I would ask of you, if you are going through and you're seeing these ads, just go ahead and report them, because I am not advertising myself on YouTube at all. The only advertisements I do on YouTube are the videos that I create for you as the public. I don't create any kind of special sponsored ads or anything like that. So it is a scam. It is theft of my name, because I did not give them permission to use my name for any advertising whatsoever. If anybody knows a good attorney that's willing to take on a good class action lawsuit, please let me know, because I'm in. And like I said, I'm not the only one. There, Referral Exchange was another one that popped up. Inman was another one. It's just, they shouldn't be using our names to be doing this. So I even tried to erase my profile, because I got a phone call saying if I removed my profile from homes.com, then they'll no longer have that information to deliver those ads. Sure enough, did that, boom, did not work. The ad's still there with my name on it, and my profile isn't there. It just says, oops, this profile is no longer available. So total hose. So I'm just letting everybody be warned by that. Whenever you want to get a hold of a real estate agent, don't click on any kind of ad that you see on YouTube. Just look in the descriptions of their videos. It always has their contact information on there. Matter of fact, if you're wanting to know more information about this, there was an article written by Ray Ellen. Breaking news is homes.com using your name to steal your leads. In some cases, what they have been doing is making basically fake referral forms. So when you click on the ad, it looks like a referral form that you're sending to that specific agent. Then the company says to the agent, hey, we procured a lead for you. We want you to go ahead and give us a 30% referral fee and for this lead, even though those people were trying to get a hold of them. I don't know if you guys can hear it right now. I did not know it was about to rain, but it is coming down. Eddie, is it really loud? If anybody can let me know if it's really loud, the rain is coming down. I'm going to get some kind of insulation for this roof, because this roof, man, it is loud. So another type of scam that's going through, and it has to do with you as buyers and sellers. So if you're looking for like a tract of land, and it doesn't matter where it is, and you think you're working with the seller of that property, the title company pulls up the title work for that company, for that seller. Everything comes clear, right? So what people have been doing is finding tracts of land that haven't, necessarily been like, they've been in the family for years. They pretend to be the seller. They even go as far as making fake identifications. So at the time of closing, they get a title check. Like, they just get the title work check. And that was one of those ones that, if you guys don't know, Jeremy Knight with the Knight Group, he is on YouTube. He exposed that. They literally have gone as far as to create fake IDs, get social security numbers just to get that title check. Some of them have been so close to closing before it was caught at the last minute. And the sellers, of course, never show up to the closing. They just get the money wired to them. Now, another one I want you to be aware of, and this was in Insider, is there is a wiring fraud scheme where you're going through the whole process and you are the buyer, and you're going to be putting down a large chunk of money to close on the house, your down payment. So you get it all arranged with the title company, and then sure enough, hours beforehand or a day before closing, you get a message saying, the wire instructions have changed. We need you to go ahead and wire it to this account instead because of a problem with the original account. So please make sure before closing, and if you want this to close on time, to have your wire sent to this number instead. And they do it and they lose everything, tens of thousands of dollars. Some people have lost like hundreds of thousands of dollars, because that's like, they took all their equity out of their previous home to buy the next home, and that's it. That's all the money they have. Sometimes they're able to get it back, but in most cases they're not. Eddie said it's become clear that that the request was sent to a fraudster, part of the wave of similar scams looking to take advantage of home buyers and sellers clamoring to act in this tough market. Yeah, they're just taking the transactions from people. And there's like, the worst part is like, there's really nothing they can do. They can't close on the house. They've lost $200,000 to $300,000, and like you can't come back from that. Like who can come back from that? Like there's no the special insurance. There's nothing. And you just lost it. It's just gone. Poof, poof. So Eddie wanted to show some of the states that have the most fraud going on in it right now. Eddie, where was that one slide that we had that had showed 1 in 331 mortgage applications have estimated to have indications of fraud? A lot of people lie on their mortgage applications. And I won't say lie. Some people don't realize some of the accounts that they need to be putting in their mortgage application. A lot of times they'll be like, oh, I didn't know I was supposed to mention my 401k, or I didn't know I was supposed to mention like some money that I was getting from my grandfather through a trust. They didn't know they weren't supposed to mention, or they were supposed to mention it in their mortgage application. So income fraud risk is up to 27%. Property fraud risk is up 22%. Identity fraud is up 4.7%, and transaction fraud risk is up 1.6%. The states that had the most, if I remember on the top of my head, it was, I think it was New York was the highest. Yeah. So it's top 10 states is New York, Florida, Rhode Island is next, Nevada, Connecticut, New Jersey, California, Texas, Maine of all places, and DC. But if you notice that those are the places that people have been closing on most homes, except for Rhode Island. That one kind of surprises me. That one surprises me, but that doesn't surprise me about Maine, Florida, Texas. Those states don't surprise me in the least bit because they've had so many transactions recently. But the whole point of this is that I want you guys to be very aware. If you are in a situation where you get these kinds of emails, but it looks very official because they're so sneaky about this, instead of calling the number that's on the email itself, I just want you to go and find the information for the title company. Like just do a quick Google search for the name of the company itself and find the phone number off of Google, or go to their Facebook page. Just make sure that the phone number you're calling is the correct phone number. Call them up and ask them about that before you ever change any wiring instructions whatsoever. Like just go straight to the title office and tell them like, look, I got this email. Is this the real deal? And they'll be able to tell you most likely that's not the real deal. I've never had this happen where they've changed the wiring instructions at the last minute for a title company. That just doesn't happen. But if you're concerned and you think that is a true thing, just take that email, run it off, like do a little screenshot, save it to your phone, go drive up to the title office and say, hey, did you send this? If you're that worried, if you're worried that even the number that is on Google is incorrect, because these guys are gotten sneakier and sneakier and sneakier with their emails. And I just don't want you guys losing like everything you've worked for within the equity of your houses when you're going to purchase another one. And it's the same when you're purchasing land, like make sure that the person that's selling the piece of land is the owner of that land. I've seen some companies do this thing where they say that you own the land and it doesn't happen. I had that happen to a client of mine. She was like down the road with her freaking new house. And the guy's like, what are you doing? Because she was there the day before to, find the four corners of the property. She's like, well, I'm staking out because my manufactured home is supposed to be delivered. He's like, this is my dad's land. You can't have this. And a company sold it to her and it like, poof, they disappeared. And there was nothing she could do about it. And she had put down $15,000 on that piece of land for this loan that didn't exist for that land. I mean, you just really have to be careful, very careful, because it was one of those all-inclusive things. Like you buy the land from the company, you finance it with the company, and you close it with that company. That doesn't sound too smart. If you're ever going to do something like this, make sure you have a title report pulled up by a separate title company to make sure the people that are selling you that piece of land actually own that piece of land. So I just wanted to put those all in perspective because there is so many different scams going on out there, and it's gotten to be it's just, I mean, every time that there's a shift in money, there's always seems to be people that are more desperate. And the more desperate they are, the more creative they are when it comes to getting the money out of your pocket. And I just don't want that to happen to anybody. And also be careful of these big corporations that are making advertisements using other people's names. If you ever see anything, any advertisement whatsoever with my name on it, it's not me. I don't create advertisements to advertise my name. My reputation is my name. I don't need advertisements for that. I've worked very hard to cultivate this name because I've worked very hard to treat my clients very well. So I don't need their ads to, just report them. I don't do it. I'm going to put this over here so I can read this better. Hold on one second. I'm going to put this over on this screen. This is, I don't think here in Europe it is as big of an issue, but real estate is a very different in general. Yeah, I know that like in Canada, you don't we have a 30-year fixed rate mortgage here in the United States, and they don't have something like that in Canada, from my understanding. I don't know how true that is, but from what I've been told, that there is no such thing as a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. They have to negotiate it every 5 to 10 years or something. And that would stink, because what if in 5 to 10 years, the interest rates are like pathetic? Johnny O with $100 super chat. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. You're always such a nice support to the channel every week.
Super chat.
It says, too bad the sound of raindrops on your roof is not the sound of money raining down on you. A lot of laughs. Well, Johnny O, you rain down a little bit of money on me, a little bit of money magic. I appreciate you. Every time that you come in, I'm so glad you actually left a message this time, because most of the time you don't even leave a message. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much. So definitely real estate here in different state in the United States is a lot different than it's going to be in other countries. Our laws too are completely different, completely different. Okay, here we go. It says 8 common apartment rental scams in Europe and how to avoid them. Oh, you have rental scams? We have rental scams here too, big time. The phantom landlord. So that phantom landlord thing is here in the United States too. So this happened to a client of mine. She had her house listed. Somebody cloned her pictures of her house, pictures of the inside and everything, went on Craigslist and created a listing saying that the home was for rent. And of course, the home was for rent for way under market value. So they would get lots of leads coming in. And then all of a sudden, she had young kids too. So it made her super scared. They had people knocking on her door saying, "Hey, can we take a tour of your house?" And the worst part about it is the people that made that listing used her actual name. So they were like, "Are you Nicole?" And she's like, "Yeah." And they were like, "We got your listing off of Craigslist, and we were wanting to know if we could take a tour." She's like, "No, I have a real estate agent." They were like, "Well, the rent was so good." She's like, "I'm not renting out my house." So then she pulled her house off the market for a little while and then put it back on the market. But she actually even got the FBI involved in on it. But they were like, "There's really not much we can do, because most of these people are overseas and they create these listings and then they disappear. It's just like playing whack-a-mole. We just can't get a hold of them." So it's crazy. The phantom apartment. This scam is similar to the one, is more common but less snaring, and uses an impersonally an interest of advantage. Most people are familiar with this type of scam. Often it's simply a fake apartment profile. It's more common because it's easier to do, but less convincing for the same reasons. Victims with typical pay for the rent of apartment up front, and then arrive and find that the house doesn't exist. This is something that actually happens on Airbnb too. They think that they're renting an Airbnb and they have all these pictures, and then they're trying to drive around and find this place and they can't find it, and they go round and round and round and round in circles. But they have collected money on the side from the Airbnb listing for the down payment for, well, we have an upfront charge of cleaning fees and stuff. They've gotten a little bit better with Airbnb, but but that's the same thing. I would not trust Craigslist when it goes to getting apartments and stuff. So just be careful of that. Another thing too, I've had this happen where someone was renting a house already. They were already renting the house, and they like moved out of the house, and then they went ahead and rented the house out for more money. They would like say they got the house for $1,200. They just went ahead and made a listing for $1,500 for rent, and then somebody else was living there, and then the landlord comes over and is like, "Who are you? Or you're not on the lease." They're like, "Oh no, we got a lease here for a year." So just be careful. There's an article there, Eddie. Who's that article from? So they can take a look at it. So if they're concerned about rental scams, Eddie's going to scroll up to the top there. Rental Tonic. Rental Tonic. Okay, cool. I think that the best scam is the corporate investors, because honestly, they're the ones that are scamming most people out of single family homes right now. I wouldn't call it a greedy landlord a scam though. We have a lot of I don't know what that word is. Hushdelmeckers? Husimleckers. I don't know. I'm trying to add some Swedish flair to it there. I don't know. Which are people that rent out of bad quality apartments or dorms for ridiculous prices. Oh, we have that here too, because they can't find a place to live. I mean, what are you going to do though? It's kind of like if you like, for instance, at one time, Austin, Texas was just booming and you couldn't afford to buy a house, but you had to live there. So you had to rent something. And there were people that were like renting out a garage for $800 a month, a converted garage. So crazy. Oh, it's a Dutch word. I was in Amsterdam. That's one of my favorite places. Love that area. It's just plain evil. Yep, it is. It is just plain evil. And that's the problem though, is that these people have been getting away with it. We're like, us as individuals have like, like we can just sit there and complain, it's just like throwing rocks at a brick wall, it's not going to do much. But if enough people start making a stink about it, enough people throwing rocks at that brick wall, sure enough, we're going to start chipping away at a lot of these scammers. And nothing burns my rear end more than people manipulating the truth. It just makes me so incredibly mad, whether they're selling a product, selling a house, whatever. Like, I'll even say this, like real estate agents are like number one real estate agent in the area. I'm like, number one for what? You pull up their numbers and you're like, what are you number one for? Like, how can you say that you're number one when you're not number one? Like that. I don't like sneaky. Like, just be who you are, be for real. Don't make up funky numbers to make yourself look better. Like all that. I don't know. I don't like that. You got to be really careful too, when you're buying real estate from wholesalers too. They make it seem like they're giving you a really good price. Yeah, definitely do your due diligence on those properties. Byron Thomas says there's a rental scam going on in Houston, Texas right now. Eddie, can you find an article about that, about the rental scam? That'd be great. After we had the flood in 2016, there was a lot of rental scams. Eddie, is this the same article? This is the same article that you just pulled up earlier. I was talking about the one in Houston. Oh, Eddie got lost for a minute. Yeah. So after 2016, that's what happened. Like we had a lot of people that were like the houses they weren't owned by them, and they knew that they were vacant and they were renting them out because they hadn't flooded. And then all of a sudden the people couldn't get the house. I mean, there's always bad seeds whenever there's a disaster. Houston Association of Realtors and Crime Stoppers of Houston are issuing a glaring warning on billboards after seeing a rise in rental scams in Houston. Victims often lose their deposits to the scammers who don't even own the home that they're listing for rent. Yep. Same thing, man. It's just like they just kind of like put a new cover on the same scam. You see digital billboards around the greater Houston area in English and Spanish warning rental scams and its victims are losing money and ending up stranded without a home. He wanted $900 plus $600 application fee, which is pretty normal for an upfront fee. Wright said he spotted the home for rent on Zillow. So anybody can put a house up for rent on Zillow, by the way. You don't have to be a real estate agent. But discovered the poster wasn't the owner. He immediately started pressuring me to send a deposit, just indicating there was a lot of competition. Yep. Wow. Man, I have to tell you, somebody just spotted me really quick. Look at this. She knew iced coffee. Yeah, she did. Yes, I have an iced coffee today. Landlords like Esther Nobles discovered someone posting pictures of their homes on their listing sites. That's what I was telling you about on that on Craigslist, offering them for rent and to unsuspecting renters. I know a lot of people are desperate for a home right now. Everyone is looking to rent or buy, and they're out of town, so they're most vulnerable. Yep. As rents keep rising on the tight housing market, research by apartment listing sites, apartmentlist.com finds that rental scams have been slammed the door on the 5.2 million U.S. renters. They take what is often a legitimate home and list it for lease or for sale. They repost it on another website and then they use it as their own. Yep, that's exactly right. That's what's going on. Like, that is what's going on. And like, how do you stop that? Like, what makes them stop it? There's no like authentication process before these homes go on some of these websites. Who's going to stop? How do you like, how would Zillow, a big corporation, verify that the person that's putting this house up for sale is the actual owner? Like, is there some specific paperwork they could put in there stating that they owned that house? Do you put your mortgage up there? Do you put your, like, what do you put in there? You could, I guess you would have to show your tax records, right? But some tax records wouldn't match up. Say the deceased person is the person on the mortgage or on the tax bill has since deceased. So now a family member owns it. So then you got to throw in all that paperwork. And that could lose you a lot of money and time because you're waiting for that house to go on the market to get the rush of buyers and renters. So there has to be a better way to get this legitimized because it's becoming a real problem. Sam Richardson has a question. He said, would you recommend building an A-frame in Louisiana for someone waiting to build a simple home, or do they not work with the weather? So here in Louisiana, we have a very specific style of homes. If you're looking to just build it to live in it and stay in it for the rest of your life and then rent it out on down the road, yeah, that would be fine. But I found that if you are too against the grain of the actual structures that are being built in the area, you have a less likely to gain as much equity as possible. I know that, like, I'll give you a perfect example. We have some people that built these log cabin homes, and they're absolutely stunning and breathtaking, but they do not go along with the rest of the housing the way it's built here in this area. They've had the toughest time getting and gaining equity in that house, even though they have a good piece of land there. And the house is really beautiful. People just don't like it because it looks too different than the rest of the houses that are in the area. Now, for other people, they love that kind of stuff, like, oh, good, it looks completely different than the rest of the area. And whenever I show clients that, I'm like, I know you like this one, and I know it's like way different than the rest of the area, but I'm going to let you know you're going to have a hard time selling it in the future because most people don't like things that go against the grain. So I just let you know. But yeah, you can totally do that. I've seen a few. There's even a house around here that it's like shaped. It looks like a golf ball. It's like this like sphere that's like a golf ball type thing on the top. They sold it. They sold it. Uncontrolled speech says due diligence. Yes, due diligence means do your homework. That's a fancy legal term for do your homework. Make sure you investigate these people. Brian the Red says people are getting paid quickly with a cash app. Yes, so that's another thing too. If they're requesting that money, that deposit and the deposit and the application fee through Cash App, I would say that's not right. Something's not right about that. Most of those, like for instance, when Eddie and I do a rental form, and we're, having them do the little background check, we have them log in to the rental company, the actual like company that does the background check, and they have to pay them. Like they pay them for that background check. We don't have anything to do with it other than they send us the report when it's done. So they're putting all their money and everything else into that specific company. It has nothing to do with us. We don't get one red cent from that application fee. It all goes to them, and they just let us know if they had a clear background. Yes, a dome home, yeah, and they're supposedly like really. They are not supposedly. They are very sound and sturdy when they're for wind, even earthquakes, that kind of thing. They have a very good reputation for their strength. The thing that was different about this specific one, it looked like a golf ball that was sitting on a tee. So the actual dome itself was sitting on like a base, like a golf tee. So I don't think it's necessarily as strong as like the typical dome home that you would see. House milker. Okay. That's all right. So the name that I was trying to say with a tad of Swedish, but it wasn't pulling it off, means house milker. It's a reference to a Dutch word for pigeon fancier keeper. Some weird long history of words. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I had no idea. Learn something new every day here on this show, don't we? Every day. Debbie Brady, your dreams coach, says, remember, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. Now, I've had some good deals fall into my lap over the years. Well, even one of the rentals that Eddie and I bought, it just so happened that the people that were selling it, they were hoarders. The house needed a ton of work. But where it was located at, I knew that, there had so much potential. I knew we were going to have to put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and a ton of fighting with each other over it, which we did. But that was a great deal. That was a really good deal. It was worth it in the end. If you had asked me at the time when everything was going around, nope, not so good. But yeah. Jody has a question. It says, hey, Kristina, hope you and the family are well. Old friend from Roswell High School. Oh my gosh, it is Jody. Jody was here in Louisiana after the last floods. He came down here and helped rebuild some of the houses. Not rebuild, just help them like kind of muck out all the properties after they had flooded. Yeah. I bet Jody had an enlightening experience. People here in Louisiana are very friendly, and they like to feed you. I wonder if they fed them. Thanks, Jody. Thanks for stopping by. Went to high school with them. What is the best way to find a development land? I live in New Mexico. Are you looking for like a big tract of land, that developed land for a neighborhood? Or are you looking for developed land that like basically is a lot that's for sale that already has electrical and utilities to it? The best way to find those is just to go into the local MLS in that area, speak to a local real estate agent in that area. And what you do is you ask them to pull up all the listings that already have utilities going to the property. That would be the best pre-developed land that you could purchase before, putting your home on it, if that's what you're planning on doing. Now, you can find hunting land pretty easily, like in Missouri and other areas. It will depend on what you're trying to look for as far as developed land. Yeah. There's some really good hunting camps out in Mississippi, by the way. Beth R says, question, my son is looking to build a treehouse home. Ooh, I love those. Those are so neat. I think it's unusual and question resale. Have you ever seen a treehouse listed? I have not personally seen a treehouse listed. Maybe I did, but it wasn't in my state. Yeah, I actually featured one on my channel a while ago. The problem with anything that when it's totally unusual, it's either one or the other. Either you can't sell the sucker, or you have a million people clamoring to buy it. One or the other. You're just going to have to find the right location to put something that unusual on it. Eddie pulled up a blog. It says, tree houses for sale right now. Is it just, yeah, I mean, is he building the house in a tree, or is he building the house around a tree? Is it a tree? Is it a house like to me, that isn't a tree house. That just happens to be trees around a house. I think it would have to do with the context of what a tree house would be. I mean, if it's a house that's basically built up high in a tree, as cool as that may be. Let's see, like this one right here has a tree like growing through the house. That one would be fine. That would be totally fine. But the ones that are like a house just kind of dangling in some branches, I don't think many people would feel very comfortable about that. Oh, look, this one's in Ponchatoula. Is it a camp? It's a camp, though. Yeah. I don't know. Let me ask you guys, would you buy a house? I mean, if you had the money, and no matter what, you had the money to do it, would you buy a house that was in a tree, like in a tree, not a house that was built around a tree, like a house that's in a tree up at the top? Would you do it? Let me know in the comments section, because I want to know. I'm interested to see how many people would be like, yeah, I'd live in a tree. I always liked that Swiss Family Robinson when I was a kid. I always thought it was so cool. I mean, this is showing my age, but you remember the kids would they had created all this ways to they had figured out how to do their laundry and make the water come up on a conveyor belt so they could do their laundry. And then they had ways of picking fruit and bringing stuff up through baskets. And man, that's that was cool. Nope. No. Probably would not buy a treehouse. No. Only one person so far says, yeah, it'd be awesome. Yeah. No. I would totally live in up high. You would, oh my gosh, you would live in a treehouse up high. Now, I will say this. I always did want to live in a house that was built in a mountain. Like the front of the house would be of course, very thick windows or whatever, but the whole inside, that whole thing was kind of carved out of stone. Oh, that would be amazing. Where they kind of cut the countertops from the stone that was in that mountain. It just looks like it's coming up from the floor. Very Flintstone-ish, I guess you'd say. Yeah. That's what I want. Living in Palm Desert says, Kristina, have you heard about the new program here in California for first-time home buyers? I have not. Eddie's going to go ahead and pull it up in the stream here. First, California first-time home buyers program for 2023. Programs and grants. Buying your first home can be a real challenge in the state of California, where prices are often sky high. Luckily, the Golden State has a variety of first-time home buyer loans and grants to help those who need an extra to hand. Here's how to get started, and it gives you a little link. I will say this. Every single state usually has some kind of first-time home buyer program. The more published it is, the more of a frenzy it becomes for those first-time home buyer type of houses, the least expensive houses. The median home price in California right now is $693,000. Holy cow. You can buy a mansion here for that. In January 2023, it was a 3.5 decrease year over year, according to Redfin. Yet, and even with a decline of housing costs, California home prices are still outpacing the national average quite a bit. Remember that the Golden State offers plenty of assistance in the form of home buyer education, special mortgages, down payment assistance. So eligible first-time home buyers can be in the line for real help if they apply. I will say, if you live in a rural area, whether you're in California, Arizona, it doesn't matter. If you live in a rural area, you can get a USDA loan, and that's 100% financing. So go look at those RD or rural development loans and see if you can sign up for those. And every state has some kind of program for first responders, teachers, first-time home buyers. Just see what's out there. The problem you may have if you use a national brand lender, they're not going to be aware of those specific programs and grants that are available to you in your state. So always go to a local lender to see if there's anything available. That credit unions are good for finding that out. Local lenders, just the big brands, I won't say their names because I don't want to get in trouble, but you know who I'm talking about. The big guys, they don't know anything about those programs available to you. I'd milk the golf ball house. Well, the golf ball house is not too far, right down the road from me. It's like 5 minutes away. First time I saw it, it was kind of tucked in some trees. I'm like, is that a golf ball? And at first I thought maybe it was like a leftover that they turned into a house. Like that area used to be a golf range, and they decided, oh well, why don't we turn this into a house? But no. That was designed. That was an engineer that said, oh, we're going to put this house together. So they put that house together so it wouldn't get knocked over by wind, but they built it in a flood zone. It floods over there all the time. Anyway, Alberto Cruz says, will the housing market get similar to than 08? No. I've said this 1,000 times, and then this will always make people really mad in the chat. And so this is what it is. I'm going to fire some people up. If we were to have a housing crash, would it look like 2008? No, because the aspects of what happened in 2008 are not on the books right now. And the other thing is what we had in the market as far as people not purchasing homes after 2008, we have more now than we ever have, which is the corporate investors. So if there was a meltdown of the financial system here in the United States, it wouldn't be from kooky loans, those interest-only loans, people's loans becoming due, all these people going into foreclosure because of these weird loans that they had. That wouldn't happen. That isn't what's going to happen because there isn't enough people that have those type of loans right now. It wouldn't matter anyways because these corporate investors will come in and buy as many as they can because they were forced to purchase them the last time we had this happen. When we had the crash the last time, they were forced to purchase them. And then they found out how incredibly profitable they are. And they went, oh, we're buying a lot of homes and we're going to set up this company. And then we're going to set up this company. We're going to use the Tricon. And then we're going to make invitation homes, and everything we learned from invitation homes, we're going to put into Tricon. And then we're going to start up another business over here. And they have tons of companies now that are buying up the least expensive homes in the United States so they can go ahead and rent them out, because their ultimate goal, and I will say this until the day I can no longer breathe, is to turn every American into a renter. That's what their goal is. Alberto Cruz says, question, will you buy a cheap rural land that's an hour away from like a big city with a house, with the housing market being so expensive right now? If that's what I wanted, I mean, that would be up to the person. I live between two major cities. I don't live in the city because, first of all, I hate traffic, and secondly of all, I want a nicer home. Like I can get a bigger, nicer home because I don't live in the city. But for some people, they'd love to be in the middle of the city. That would be for what you want. If that's what you want to do, then go ahead and do it. I will say this, that your rural areas are not going to see the depreciation value like you would in some of the major cities that have a lot of new construction. Even with the last housing crash, in my little small town that I live here in Louisiana, they didn't see like historically low prices. Like people weren't taking hundreds of thousands of dollars off their house. Now, did some people lose their house? Yeah, because they got themselves into a house they couldn't afford. I mean, it just happened. But we didn't have that like that other areas did, like where I used to live in Orlando, Florida. Those prices were sinking like a rock, but they had tons of new construction, tons of homes that hadn't been sold yet, and they had a lot of people that were in loans they shouldn't have been. So, of course, they saw the biggest drop in home prices. You're not going to see that in your rural areas, just FYI. Tech 1200 says, question, Kristina, how will CBDC affect the housing market and industry as a whole if it passes? I'm not familiar with this. CBDC. What does it stand for? CBDC. Eddie, can you pull that up? CBDC? Maybe it's just not clicking in my brain. What's the acronym stand for, Eddie? The producer's going to pull it up for me. It's really difficult to talk for an hour straight. It really shouldn't be for me because I talk to myself all day long. Um, oh, the central bank and digital currency. Okay, so the last two streams we've been talking about this. I didn't know this was the initials that people use for it. I had no idea. I learned something new. Um, I think the whole reason why the Fed, just barely touched interest rates at 2.25 this last time around was because of this happening with all these banks that are vested in digital currency. They're all kind of tumbling like a deck of cards, and that's why most of people are like, I never heard of that bank because they were the crypto bros. Oh, I just started an internet startup with some cryptocurrency. Like those dudes. I just started a podcast and I'm doing this cryptocurrency thing. Like they don't want them to fall apart. They don't want them to fall apart. So we've been rescuing them because I don't know why. That's what we do. We rescue them so the whole system doesn't fall apart. So we have to keep propping them up. Just keep printing money. Just keep doing it. But that's why the Fed did a little shakedown, like, oh, you remember when we said we were going to keep raising rates like a lot? Well, we're just kidding about that after a few collapses of a few banks. Yeah, we're just kidding. We're not going to do that. We're just going to do a little 0.5. Yeah, thanks. I'm not a big fan of the Mr. Powell. I don't think his whole thing right now is he just wants a lot of people to lose their jobs. And I don't think we'll ever again in our lives ever know what the true jobs number is ever again, because they have manipulated that sucker for, I don't know, the last 20 years. It's getting worse and worse every year that goes by. They'll make those numbers look like whatever they want them to look like. That's for darn sure. Just throw a couple people down here and, we'll throw that group over here and take that line off. And, oh, look, the jobs are fantastic. Nobody's losing their job. Matter of fact, we just added another 300,000. The chips are all going to fall in place when they fall in place. Like, we don't find out everything until 3 years later. And it feels like with the inflation rate and everything else, you're hearing so many people like, I got laid off, or I've applied to 450 jobs. Like, this is all going to start, the facade is all going to start falling soon enough. Will that affect the housing market? We just don't know. I'm not going to lie to you and say, yes, 100% is going to affect the housing market. I can't say, no, it won't either. We have to know what actually is going on, because, they're not 100% transparent, as much as they love to say they are, Byron Thomas says, how does one find a tree strong enough to carry and hold that holding of that structure? I know that they brace them, right? So they just don't throw it into the branches and call it a day. They're taking other pieces of wood and bracing that tree to make sure that it doesn't. I mean, it's a feat of engineering like nobody else. I don't know. I'm not an engineer. If some engineer could pipe in and answer Byron's question on that, I don't know. I just don't know. I would stay in a tree house, like for an Airbnb for a weekend. But I'm also like, I don't know what happened to me. I used to climb trees as a kid, all the time. But now that I'm older, really big heights, for some reason, I immediately get nauseated. Seriously, turn my stomach. And I used to love roller coasters and everything. Last time I was on a roller coaster, I was like, ooh, that made me feel a little woozy. Head spinning a bit, I don't know what happens. Does your equilibrium change as you get older? Is that what it is? Is it fear? Vertigo, that's it. Why does that happen? That's a new phenomenon in my older age. Living in Palm Desert says, basically this program is an equity share, and the state is giving you 20% down payment assistance. Wow, that's fantastic. It's a silent second. Oh, yeah, we've had those here too. But that equity share is like getting in bed with the government. Not a fan. Yeah, I'm not a fan either. We had something similar to that here. And you had to stay in the house 5 years. You had to stay in the house 5 years. And if you didn't, they could come back for like the day of closing. They come back to you and say, "Where's the rest of our money?" So, yeah. Oh, we got a $2 super chat.
Super chat. Thank you.
Where's
Super chat. Thank you.
Where should I buy a house as a veteran? Well, that's a loaded question. It depends on where you want to live. Are you looking for a place like close to a specific base? Are you looking for a place that's warm? Are you looking for a place that's cold? Are you looking for a place that isn't around people? Do you want the desert? Like, if it was me and I had infinite amount of money, I would like pack up in the middle of nowhere and get one of those like Starlinks, and have 3 tiny homes, one for Eddie, one for me, and one for the kitchen. And I'd be in the middle of Maine in the trees in the woods, and I wouldn't hear anything for miles. But I don't know what you want. I don't know what your budget is. If you want to know, like if you're like want to talk it over with me so we can figure out what you're looking for, you can go to my website and fill out the referral form there. You go to KristinaSmallhorn.com and then just click on the pink link. Yeah, just pink, those pink links, just click on it and fill out the referral form. And then you and I can talk it over. The call doesn't cost you anything. Anybody who knows, I talk to people all day long. It's my job. Just fill that out. Make sure you put your phone number though, so I can get a hold of you and we can talk about what you're looking for, so I can help you make your decision for you. There's a question right underneath that, Eddie, that you can pull up the screen, or you got something else to put up there. Here it is. V-Man has a question. Is it possible to raise the mortgage loans to 40 or 50 years in order for the most to be available to get in a home, or is it already happening? So this package, that program has been tested a few times. The problem with when you get into 40 to 50 year loans is that, all the interest that you pay on a house is upfront, as you know. And if you've ever purchased a home, you don't really gain that much equity from paying your house off those first few years. It's only what the market has done in the area. If you had a mortgage for 40 to 50 years, you're even paying even more. Like the first 20 years, you're barely even touching that principal because you're only paying interest. They found that most people are like, oh, well, it really didn't save me that much money. Matter of fact, all I'm doing is paying more money to the bank to have that 40 to 50 year mortgage. They've tried it. I don't know if it's ever going to be successful. I mean, as I say that though, I immediately start thinking of the car market, and people would never, first it was like you only financed a car for 3 years. Then it was 4 years. You never finance a car for more than 4 years. Then it's 5 years. I think they go up to 6 years now, 6 or 7 years now that you can finance a brand new car. And that thought process blows my mind because most people don't even hold on to a car for 7 years. Yeah. My next car is going to be a little putt nothing car. It's going to be nothing. Pizza McGee says, question, my sister has special needs child and she takes care of her. She gets paid by the government. Would buying a house affect the income? You're going to have to talk to a lender about that. I don't know what the requirements would be because of the income. Of course, she's going to have to claim that as income. So they would base the loan off the income that's coming into the household in order to purchase the house. The fact that you're purchasing a house, I don't believe that makes any difference to the government or not. They can't just all of a sudden, well, you're buying a house, we're no longer going to give you benefits. But I would talk to a lender. I'm not a lender. I'm not giving you any financial advice. That lender would be the one to ask. And every state's going to have little different rules when it comes to that as well. So just check with a local lender in your area. Local lender. Because those big ones, the big guys, they don't know it. They just know how to like click some buttons. They just fill in blanks. Byron Thomas is on fire today. Question. I haven't heard of a silent second. What's that? It's kind of like, how like when you get a traditional like mortgage, and you decide that you need a second mortgage to like pay for your kids' college or whatever like that. So then you have two stated mortgages on your house. Well, this is kind of like rolled in one. Oh, Eddie's got a better explanation. It's considered silent. The second mortgage or loan is used as a secured down payment funds and then not disclosed to the original mortgage lender prior to closing. Failing to disclose a second loan to the lender is very illegal, and borrowers who fail to do so can be prosecuted. Yeah, but this is a little bit different. This is different. This is kind of like the government's giving it to you. It's not put on your like permanent record, basically. It's not like documented in the tax record as a second mortgage. Serenity Cow says, question, speaking of treehouse homes, is there a site you know of that can find odd or interesting homes for sale, like old firehouses, lighthouses, and churches? There isn't one centralized website that shows unusual homes. I've looked for years because I used to like to do content on them, and you have to physically like go through the bigger websites like Zillow and homes.com, but honestly, like Zillow, realtor.com, one of those type websites, and type in like a keyword like treehouse to see what comes up. You're not going to be able to find one on one specific website. David Hannah says, hi, Kristina. I watched your channel for all last year. Followed a lot of your advice. Well, I hope that worked out for you. I hope you were able to find a home. Managed to get my first home last year. Fantastic. It was crazy with bidding wars. There are bidding wars to this day. I don't know what your price range is. Now, the people that are not winning right now, and I've said this for the last, I don't know, 2-3 months, are the people that live in those like little McMansions, not the ones that are like the pie in the sky 1% houses, you know what I'm talking about, not those people, but the people that are below that. The ones that are taking the biggest hit right now are the people that live in little McMansions. And that isn't surprising. That isn't surprising to me at all. They have built so much of that for the last 10 years. And that's all they've been building. They haven't been building those first-time home buyer type homes. They've been building those little McMansions everywhere. And those are the ones that are taking the biggest decreases on their prices, which is not shocking. But that's what really stinks, is because that market, that first-time home buyer market, is expecting or hoping for a decrease in home prices, and all they're seeing is bidding wars and increases. They're like, where is the decline? I'm reading all the headlines say decline in home prices. Why am I not seeing that? Why am I still having to fight for a house to purchase? And that's the reason why we just didn't build enough. We just didn't build enough. But they built plenty of those McMansions, man. So many, even in our area. Even my parents next door, like my parents live in a nice area, and it's like right on the border of Baton Rouge, so it's highly desirable. And the neighbors next door, my dad's like, oh, they only had like a 10% decrease over 3 years. I'm like, Dad, that's pretty normal. He was like, well, I mean, with these home prices and everything. I'm like, Dad, all around you is all brand new construction of the same exact house that you guys are trying to sell that's over 10 years old. Of course they're not going to like increase that much. They're be lucky that they increase that much. But a typical house going up 3% a year is normal and healthy. If you get a 3% increase every single year, that's normal and healthy real estate market. Gabriel G says, question, is there any way to protect against deed fraud? People going to courts without fraudulent paperwork and getting people's homes right underneath them. That is another one too. So there are people that you have to sue. That's the only way you can do it. There is a woman and her husband that were going around like basically rewriting deeds to houses and putting them in their name. And some of these people had no idea. Some of them were like rental properties, and where the people didn't know. Yeah. You can get title insurance too to see if it, and then there's apparently title lock insurance. This is new. You may have heard recently on the radio ad for title lock insurance. Title lock insurance is first. Lock the insurance is not title insurance. These are two very different things, according to American Insurance Administration. Title insurance protects real estate purchasers and sellers and lenders from losses that arise from a real estate settlement, but result in unknown liens, encumbrances, and defects upon the title exists in the settlement. Title lock insurance, which is not actually insurance of any kind, claims to protect the title fraud against the legitimate challenge to the title. The title lock is a service that monitors the deed of your home, so to see if it has been transferred out of your name. The service will notify you if it happens after it has already happened. These services do not actually lock your title and prevent fraudulent deeds from transferring. So basically, it's just a service to make sure that, to let you know, but it's already happened. Yeah, don't get that. Title lock insurance? Yeah, that's terrible. Don't do that. That's another scam. You just have somebody just babysitting your thing going, oh yeah, by the way, your house already burnt down. Just want to let you know. I should have called you when it was burning, but you know, that's not what my job is. This is crazy. Do you need this service to protect your house from thieves? The answer is no. Title fraud is very rare and hardly ever successful. It has been successful in Texas. If someone ever tries to transfer your deed without your permission or knowledge, like these title lock companies suggest it could happen, the transfer is fraudulent and void from the onset. Yeah, you'd still have to take them to court though. But obviously this isn't going to work, this title lock insurance. You can periodically perform the same check on your own title, which is true, for free. What these monitoring services are doing is something for free for a fee. Basically, something you can do for free for a fee. This is crazy. Yeah, don't get sucked up into that. That's another scam. There goes another scam. There's so many. Peter has a question and says, what happens to a buyer demand and settlement when the year-over-year housing price is compared to last summer's highs? You can't do that. So the housing market, whenever you're pricing a house, you have to do it for the last 6 months. If the housing market's going really super crazy, you do it over the last 3 months. But in a neighborhood, typically, whenever you're doing your housing prices for your CMA, which is your cost market analysis, you're pricing the house on what things have sold for in that specific period of time. If you're pricing it from what the housing prices were last summer, that isn't going to really work out for you. You're going to just sit on the market. The market will dictate the price. So like people last year, whenever the prices were still going high, they were blaming the real estate agents. But the market said the houses were worth it. The buyers were willing to purchase it, and the banks were still willing to give them the money for it at that time. But if your house is still sitting on the market has told you that your house is priced too high, and it will let you know. If you're not getting anybody walking through your house, if you're not getting any offers, if nobody has, even the phone has never even rung, your house is priced too high. And you have to adjust for that. If you're not willing to adjust, plan on letting your house sit there and rot for a long period of time. Some sellers are willing to do that right now because they're like, well, this is the price I want. I'm going to test the market and see if somebody feels like my house is worth it. If they're not willing to pay that price, I'll just pull it off the market because I'm at a 2.2% interest rate. And they've been talking about that, is that there are not as many houses selling, but there aren't as many houses on the market as there should be for this time of year. Because most people are saying, I'm not selling. Why would I sell when I have like a 2.2% interest rate? I'm not going to sell. Forget it. Yeah. Yeah, it's just one of those things. Yeah. But last year it was so funny though. They're like, everybody's like, the real estate agents are setting these prices and making nobody makes anybody pay a price. Nobody. The banks won't give you more money than the house is worth. And the craziest part of the years during the pandemic is how many people were willing to dip into their own savings and put that money down because they knew that the house wouldn't appraise for, let's just say, $450,000. So they were like, well, we have all these offers. The bank's only going to give me $400,000, and they would take $50,000 of their own money, and put it towards the purchase price of the house and give that to the sellers. It, to me, blew my mind. But there was nothing. I mean, you can't stop that. There's nothing to stop that. And then that becomes the new sale price. Whenever that it's sold for $50,000 over. And like people are like, well, people are going to lose their rear ends on that, but they're not. That isn't financed money. That was their cash. They decided to use their cash to purchase it. They didn't finance that $50,000. So even if the real estate market was to go down in that area $50,000, their mortgage is still for $400,000 because that's what the bank was willing to give them for it. It's crazy. Arthur Martin says, question, after the market crash, your thoughts on buying a new home in cash? So during the last housing, like 2000, I think it was like the end of 2008 and 2009. That's when all of my business was investors. Every single person I was working with was investors, and they were buying all the houses in cash, every single one of them. And they were all, they bought all the junky ones. I even sold a house that the people that had lived there prior had dumped cement down the pipes. I sold one to another investor. The house was only 2 years old, but these people, like, I didn't know human beings could trash a house that badly. Like the whole neighborhood was brand new. There was still new construction down the road, and the inside of this house was like totally wrecked from the minute. I mean, they even had like, I felt so bad. They had these turtles on the fish tank and everything. I was like, I had to call somebody to get these turtles out. Because I don't want animals dying, Oh, it's just crazy. Question to the chat. I'm the only one that gets adrenaline rush when Kristina reads your chat on the screen. Yeah, everybody. Oh, I love that. Like if I'm in a live stream, this is true. If juices me up. If I make a really cool comment, I'm like, oh, please read my comment on the screen. Please read my comment on the screen. And then they read my comment. I'm like, yeah. Like, I hope everybody else found it as funny as I do. Cause I feel like I'm like Lawnmower. I don't know if he's here today, but Lawnmower is my commentologist. He always has the quickest comebacks in the comment section. And that's what I always do. Is like, I try to be like Lawnmower, my inner Lawnmower. Matter of fact, Lawnmower's seen me in other people's live streams, so he knows. Marty said, can a non-military person co-sign with a military vet loan? No. Oh, yes, they can? No, hold on. Can a non-military person co-sign with a military vet for a VA loan? Yes, VA loans can allow co-borrowers on their loan, but they can't. Like, I can't have my dad get me a VA loan. I don't think that works. Acceptable co-borrowers include veteran and non-veteran spouse, 2 married veterans, where only one veteran uses their entitlement, 2 married veterans, where both veterans use their entitlement, and 2 non-married veterans, where both veterans use their entitlement. So like married and non-married, but not like you can't get your kid to co-sign for a loan. The VA also allows what's known as joint VA loan, where the veteran applies for a non-veteran, non-spouse. So that's an application type thing. I learned something new today. I've always been told no. So I learned something new today. This is why that's why I always say, talk to your lender. I'm not a lender. I can tell you everything about the house. I can tell you how to get an inspector. I can tell you all sorts of other things. The lending part, that's why I have like once a month I have a lender on here talking the lender stuff, because I always say, talk to a lender. I don't know. Linda Kingsley says, I love Kristina and I learned a great deal. Good. Thank you. Here in the desert, our prices are 4% below the peak, but up 8% year over year. Wild. That's what I'm talking about. In the rural areas, they're not going to be affected by waves of extreme growth, and they're not going to be hit by extreme decreases in prices either. So that's what happened here. Of course, there was some, but there wasn't like waves of foreclosures like every single house in the neighborhood. Debbie Bree says, smash that like button, y'all. I did see one more question that came in. I'm going to put this one on the screen. It says, Byron says, so when a property is on the market for 100 days or more, might mean the realtor priced the property too high? Sorry, so many questions. No, that's a perfectly good question. Yes. So sometimes it's not the real estate agent's fault. Like I've had this happen before where I say your house, according to the CMA, is only worth $230,000. The seller's like, but I want $250,000. I'm like, I know what you want, and I will try it at your price, but only if you agree that after 5 days, if that phone has not rung one time and not one person has asked to see your house, and you've got no activity, that we're dropping the price. And if they won't agree to it, then I won't list it. I will tell them no. We can't. That's not going to work. And sometimes they'll go with me and sometimes they won't, which is fine. But then you see that eventually the house ends up at the price that you told them to be at the first place when they picked another real estate agent. And then it finally sells and you're like, oh, who knew? Like, who let you know that it was going to sell for that price? There he is, lawnmower. Hit the like button or YouTube will contact you about your car's extended warranty. Well, apparently YouTube makes ads on the behalf of other corporations in order to steal leads from real estate agents, which is not true, by the way. Not true. Lisa B says, question. I bought my second home in December 2021. I kept my second home and have interest of a 5.5 on the first house. Should I wait to sell to my LLC? What does your financial advisor tell you to do? I mean, so you kept the second home. Is the second home in your LLC right now? And what kind of loan do you have on it right now? Like, there's so many questions. Oh, she kept her first home. If the second home's in an LLC, I would just go ahead and put it in your LLC. Keep it there. You kept your first house. Yeah, I would not have your second house in your name, and I have it in the LLC's name. And all that interest and everything that you're using is depreciated value for tax benefit anyway. Susanna says, question, when you buy a house at the new higher price, does the increase on the taxes he bought it at much less price now is appraised higher? Well, whatever the tax collector says the appraised value is of your house, that's what the tax collector is going to do. Whether you bought that house at $300,000 and the tax guy comes in. Have you ever seen there's just an old meme, matter of fact, that says like what I think my house looks like, and it shows it like the little white picket fence and everything. It's just like a simple little house. And then the tax collector thinks it's a mansion, so that's how much you're paying in taxes. The insurance company thinks it's only worth, and they show a little shack, So yeah, there's like an old cartoon of that I think my parents even showed that to me when I was young. So anyways, thank you to everybody that was here today. Thank you to our moderators that always keep the chat clean. Look, if you're looking for a real estate agent in your area, I'm connected with thousands across the country. All you have to do is go to my website, KristinaSmallhorn.com. I showed you that earlier in the stream. Just click on one of the pink buttons. Make sure you leave your phone number and I'll give you a call. We'll talk about your real estate needs. I also want to say thank you to our super chatters today. They were kind enough to leave some nice super chats, and I'm always thankful for everybody that is supporting the channel. Again, if you guys do happen to see on YouTube any ads with my specific name on it that says Kristina Smallhorn, Baton Rouge real estate agent, please click on the little buttons on the side that says remove the ad, and they're going to ask you why. Say it's fraud. Say it's a scam. Churn them in, because we can't stop these big corporations from stealing our names for advertising unless we do something about it. I appreciate anybody that was able to do that. Thank you so much. So, yep, there's my website with my feet. Apparently, my kids say I shouldn't show my feet. They say if you show your feet, that's creepy, and people do stuff with your pictures of your feet. I don't know. That's what my kids tell me, man. Nobody cares about my feet. Hey, if you haven't yet, you can always check out my past streams on any podcasts that you listen to. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. Just go over there and you can check out all the past streams that we've had and all the discussions that we've had about the housing market. How many we got going now? Right now? Oh, we're on lucky number 13 right now. So number 13 comes out tomorrow. It's just a recap of this show right here. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, moderators. Have a fantastic week. Bye-bye. So long. Peace.